In life, maintaining a level of privacy can be one of your greatest strengths. When you choose not to share too much about yourself, you protect your peace and give yourself room to grow without the noise and opinions of the outside world. Not everyone you interact with has your best interests at heart, and sometimes, the less people know, the safer you are. Privacy isn't about being secretive, it's about being selective. Your dreams, goals, weaknesses, and plans are sacred, and not everyone deserves access to that part of you. There's power in being mysterious. When people can't fully figure you out, they're less likely to form assumptions or put you in a box. The unknown creates curiosity, and curiosity often leads to respect. You don't have to overshare in order to be accepted or understood. In fact, some of the most influential and respected people are those who speak less and do more. Keeping people guessing doesn't mean you're hiding something, it simply means you're guarding something valuable yourself. By not revealing too much, you keep control of your own narrative. When you let others in on every detail of your personal life, you give them the ability to shape opinions about you, some of which may not be true or fair. But when you're mindful of what you share, you maintain control over how you're perceived. You avoid unnecessary judgment, criticism, and the risk of being misunderstood. It's not about being fake or closed off, it's about being intentional. You decide what people know, and that choice puts you in a position of strength. Oversharing can invite problems, even when you don't expect it. Jealousy is real, and sometimes it comes from the people closest to you. When others see your potential or progress, it might trigger envy, competition, or even sabotage. That doesn't mean you should dim your light or hide your success. It means you should be wise about who you let close to that light. People can't ruin what they don't know about. Keeping your plans quiet until they're solid protects you from outside negativity and interference. Let your actions speak louder than your words. In a world where everyone is quick to post, update, or announce, there's something powerful about moving in silence. You don't have to tell everyone what you're working on, just show them when it's done. Quiet progress is still progress, and sometimes it's even more effective. People notice results, not promises. When you let your work speak for itself, you earn respect through evidence, not explanation. Keeping things to yourself helps build inner strength and emotional discipline. You learn to trust yourself, to sit with your thoughts, and to navigate your journey without constantly needing validation from others. That kind of strength creates confidence that doesn't rely on attention or approval. It teaches you how to rely on your own voice, your own intuition, and your own path. In the end, it's not about pushing people away, it's about drawing a line between what is public and what is personal. That balance is where true peace and power live. There is something incredibly powerful about being a person of mystery. In a world where everyone is constantly sharing, explaining, and revealing every part of themselves, those who choose silence and subtlety often stand out the most. Mystery creates curiosity. It keeps people guessing. And in many situations, the less others know about you, the more intrigued they become. When you don't lay all your cards on the table, you hold the advantage. You maintain control. Not because you're hiding something bad, but because you're protecting something valuable yourself. Mystery doesn't mean being cold or distant. It doesn't mean isolating yourself or avoiding connections. It simply means being intentional about what you reveal, and when you reveal it. When people know too much about your inner thoughts, your goals, your struggles, or your next move, they begin to analyze, critique, and sometimes even compete with you. But when you move with a sense of quiet purpose, you remove the opportunity for others to interfere with your path. You give yourself space to breathe and evolve without the pressure of outside opinions or expectations. Being mysterious makes people pay attention. It changes the way they look at you. Instead of seeing everything on display, they're forced to observe, to listen more carefully, to wonder. It adds depth to your presence, and in a time where oversharing is normalized, the ones who choose to be more private are often seen as stronger, more confident, and more in control of themselves. There's a quiet power in being unpredictable, in not letting people figure you out completely. It gives you room to grow without the weight of being boxed in by other people's perceptions. One of the biggest advantages of maintaining mystery is the ability to avoid unnecessary conflict or competition. When others don't know your plans, they can't compete with them. When they don't understand your next move, they can't try to block it. Mystery creates a natural layer of protection. It allows you to work in peace and speak through your results, not your intentions. In this way, you avoid wasting energy on explanations, validations, or having to defend your choices. You simply move and let your actions speak for themselves when the time is right. There is also a deeper psychological benefit to keeping an air of mystery. It builds inner strength. When you don't feel the need to constantly share your life or explain your emotions, you develop a stronger connection with yourself. You learn to hold your own space, to sit with your thoughts, to make decisions without broadcasting them to the world. That kind of discipline creates confidence, not the loud, attention-seeking kind, but the quiet, grounded kind that doesn't rely on outside approval. You don't owe the world a detailed explanation of who you are. People will always try to figure you out, put labels on you, or assume they know your story. But when you choose to remain a little unreadable, you protect your identity. You become someone who doesn't need to perform or prove anything. You just live, grow, and move in your own time. And in doing that, you attract the right kind of attention, the kind that's based on respect, not curiosity alone. In the end, mystery isn't about being secretive, it's about being powerful in your silence. It's about knowing that what makes you unique isn't always what you say, but what you don't say. It's not about disappearing, but about showing up in a way that doesn't give everything away. When you master the art of being known but not completely understood, you create space for both connection and protection. And in that space, your strength quietly shines. In a world that constantly tries to define you, label you, and put you in a box, controlling your own narrative is one of the most important things you can do. People will always talk. They'll make assumptions, tell stories about who they think you are, and try to mold your identity based on their limited view. But when you take ownership of your story, when you choose what to share, how to share it, and when you take your power back, you decide what parts of yourself the world gets to see, and more importantly, what parts are yours to keep. Letting others write your narrative means living under someone else's definition of you. That's a heavy weight to carry, especially when their view is shaped by gossip, misunderstanding, or jealousy. But you don't have to give anyone that kind of control. You don't owe the world an explanation for every decision, every mistake, or every dream you're chasing. The only person who truly understands your journey is you. And when you start to speak from that place, when you present yourself from a place of truth and intention, you reclaim your identity piece by piece. Controlling your narrative doesn't mean fabricating an image or pretending to be something you're not. It means aligning how you show up in the world with who you genuinely are. It means being deliberate with your words, your actions, and your presence. Or you don't have to be loud about it. You don't have to convince people or over-explain yourself. You just have to stay grounded in your truth and let that truth guide how others see you, not because you're trying to be seen, but because you're choosing to be understood on your own terms. One of the most damaging things you can do is let someone else's version of you become your reality. The more you internalize other people's narratives, the more you drift from your own voice. You begin to question your worth, your choices, and your path. But when you control your narrative, you silence that outside noise. You remind yourself of who you are and what you stand for. You become the author, not the character. And in doing so, you move with a confidence that doesn't need to be explained or defended. There's a reason why people who are intentional about what they reveal tend to be respected more. It's not about secrecy, it's about self-respect. It's about recognizing that not everyone deserves access to your thoughts, your vulnerabilities, or your story. When you control your narrative, you protect yourself from being misrepresented. You avoid becoming a subject of speculation, and more importantly, you remain in command of how your journey is told, especially during the times when you're still figuring it out yourself. This isn't about ego, it's about agency. It's about standing in front of the mirror and choosing your reflection, not the one others try to project onto you. When you know your value and live by your own standards, people either align with your energy or distance themselves. Both outcomes are fine, because you're not living for approval, you're living in alignment. And that kind of clarity attracts the right people and opportunities into your life. So let others think what they will, let them guess, speculate, or assume. None of it matters as long as you stay rooted in who you are. Let your actions speak louder than gossip. Let your consistency outshine their confusion. And above all, keep writing your story, page by page, with intention, truth, and pride. Because when you control your narrative, you don't just shape how the world sees you, you shape how you see yourself. And that's where real power begins. Sometimes it's not the strangers that pose the biggest threat to your peace, it's the ones who smile the closest. Not everyone who claps for you is happy for you. Not every compliment is sincere. That's why as you grow, evolve, and move toward your goals, it's important to be selective about what you share and with whom. People often react more to your progress than to your personality. You could be the kindest, most humble person in the room, but the moment others sense your light getting brighter, some won't be able to handle it. That's when envy creeps in, quietly, subtly, but dangerously. Envy doesn't always show up as loud criticism or open conflict. Most of the time, it shows up in the form of passive remarks, subtle distancing, or backhanded support. Sometimes it even comes dressed as concern. Someone might say they're just looking out for you, but their words are really just veiled attempts to discourage you, to plant doubt, or to slow you down. And that's why protecting your journey is not paranoia, it's wisdom. The less people know, the less they can twist, ruin, or try to compete with. One of the biggest mistakes people make is assuming that being open and transparent is always the noble path. But the truth is, when you lay all your dreams out for the world to see, you give people access not just to your goals, but to your vulnerabilities. And unfortunately, some will use that access to try and pull you off course, not because they don't believe in success, but because they can't handle the idea of you reaching it before they do. It's a reflection of their insecurity, not your worth, but the damage can still be real if you're not careful. That's why silence can be your shield. When you move in silence, you give yourself the freedom to work without pressure. You avoid outside opinions that might shake your confidence or make you second-guess your direction. You stay focused on your mission, not on managing other people's reactions. And when your progress finally speaks for itself, it does so with strength, because no one saw it coming and no one had the chance to stop it. It's not about being secretive for the sake of secrecy, it's about being intentional. You don't have to broadcast every step. You don't have to explain every decision. Let the results tell the story. Let success be your response. And in the meantime, guard your energy. Protect your plans. Build quietly away from unnecessary eyes until the foundation is strong enough that no envy, no sabotage, and no doubt can shake it. It's also important to recognize that not everyone deserves a front row seat in your life. Some people want to be close to you not because they support you, but because they want to monitor you. They want to stay close enough to know what's happening, but not close enough to genuinely help. These are the people who smile when you're around, but talk when you're not. The people who secretly hope you fail so they can feel better about their own lack of progress. And the easiest way to disarm them is by not giving them anything to work with in the first place. Your journey is yours. It's sacred. And while sharing can be beautiful when done with the right people, it can be dangerous when done with the wrong ones. So move wisely, keep your circle tight, share your wins when they're solid, not when they're still growing. And above all, remember that protecting your peace is not selfish, it's essential. Because in a world full of loud opinions and quiet envy, silence is often your strongest strategy. In a world full of noise, talk is cheap. Promises are thrown around like confetti and declarations are made daily with very little follow-through. But words without action are just empty sounds. People say what they think others want to hear. They talk about what they plan to do, how they're going to change, what they're working on. But often, those words don't turn into anything real. That's why actions will always speak louder than words. They're louder than any status update, caption, or speech. What you do consistently, quietly, and intentionally will always carry more weight than anything you say. There's a certain power in being a doer, in staying quiet while you're working, moving behind the scenes, and letting your results speak for you. It takes discipline to hold back from explaining yourself, to resist the urge to prove something through words, and instead allow your effort to be your explanation. Anyone can talk a good game, but it takes real focus, grit, and patience to let your hustle speak for itself. When you stay in that mindset, you automatically separate yourself from the crowd. People may not always listen to what you say, but they will remember what you did. Your actions build your reputation. They shape how people view you far more than your promises ever will. You can say you're loyal, but how you treat people when they're not around tells the truth. You can say you're ambitious, but how you spend your time will prove it. You can claim to want change, growth, or success, but what you actually do every day will either confirm or contradict that claim. It's your actions that write your story. Silence can be powerful when it's paired with movement. There's something undeniably admirable about people who don't feel the need to constantly announce their intentions. They just do the work. They show up. They improve quietly. And when the results come, people notice not because they talked about it, but because they became it. That's the difference between making noise and making progress. One fades quickly. The other leaves a mark. It's also a matter of protecting your energy. The more time you spend explaining, announcing, or justifying, the less time and energy you have to actually do what needs to be done. Talking too much can make you feel like you're already halfway there, even when nothing started. It creates a false sense of progress, but action builds momentum. It forces you to be present. It keeps you grounded in what actually matters, execution. And there's a deep confidence that comes with this mindset. When you trust yourself enough to move without always speaking, you're telling the world, I don't need your approval. I'm not here to impress, I'm here to deliver. That kind of quiet confidence doesn't come from words, it comes from consistency. From showing up even when no one is watching. From doing what you said you'd do, even when the motivation is gone. That's what builds integrity. That's what builds real respect. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. You don't need to advertise every idea or narrate every step. Just do the work. Stay focused. Let your actions become your legacy. Because people may forget what you said. They may even forget how loudly you said it, but they won't forget what you did. So move with purpose, keep your head down when necessary, and trust that when your actions speak, they'll say everything that words never could. Inner strength isn't something you're born with, it's something you build slowly, quietly, and often in the moments no one else sees. It grows in silence and solitude, and in the times you choose to keep going even when everything inside you wants to quit. It's not loud, it doesn't beg for attention. But it's always there, forming brick by brick through every challenge you face and every lesson you learn. While the world encourages surface-level strength, how tough you appear, how much you can show off true strength lies deeper. It's in the way you carry yourself when no one's watching, in the way you talk to yourself after a setback, in the way you hold your ground, even when the world is pushing you to break. Building inner strength requires patience. You don't get it all at once. It forms when you stop chasing validation and learn to be your own source of reassurance. It's in the moments you want to explain yourself but choose peace instead. In the times you're misunderstood, and rather than lashing out, you let your truth speak through your actions. That kind of strength doesn't need defending. It's not about never feeling pain, anger, or fear. It's about what you do with those feelings. Do you let them control you, or do you acknowledge them and still move forward? That choice, repeated over time, builds something unshakable inside you. You start to understand that not everything deserves your reaction. Not everyone needs to know your thoughts. You stop wasting energy on things that don't serve you, and you start focusing on what helps you grow. But you begin to trust yourself more. You realize you can survive heartbreak, rejection, failure, and not only survive but rise from it smarter, calmer, and more focused. The world loses its power to throw you off balance because you've already been through storms and learned how to steady yourself in the wind. Silence becomes a tool, not a weakness. You stop rushing to fill every space with noise or every moment with distraction. Instead, you become comfortable being alone with your thoughts. You learn how to sit in stillness without reaching for someone else to fix it. That's where the real growth happens, in the quiet moments where you're forced to look inward and face yourself fully. And once you've faced yourself, what anyone else says or thinks loses its grip on you. Inner strength also comes from discipline. From showing up for yourself even when you don't feel like it. From doing the hard things, the boring things, the things no one claps for. It's waking up and choosing your purpose over your comfort. It's saying no when everything in you wants to say yes just to please someone. It's having boundaries, knowing your worth. Walking away from things that drain you, even if it's hard. Over time, this strength becomes who you are. You don't need to prove it, flaunt it, or speak on it. People feel it in your presence, in the calmness of your responses, in the steadiness of your energy. You're no longer shaken by every opinion, every storm, or every change in the world around you because you've built something solid inside, something that holds. And the most beautiful part is, once you've built that kind of strength, you don't have to fight for peace. You become peace, you carry it. And even in the chaos, you know who you are, what you're worth, and how far you've come, not because someone told you, but because you earned that knowledge through experience, through struggle, and through the quiet power of persistence.